Well, this is it. The final Cassette Vision game. You can't really do anything dramatic for the ending when the library only has 11 games in it. Elevator Panic was released in August of 1984, a month after the release of the Super Cassette Vision, Epoch's successor console. And really, I've been telling you all about the Cassette Vision so I could tell you about the Super Cassette Vision, the system that had a weirdly oversized influence on video games. But we'll start the epoch of the Super Cassette Vision in a couple of days. Elevator Panic is the only Cassette Vision game to release in a white cartridge. Even the people who worked at Epoch at the time don't remember why they made that change. It's also by far the rarest Cassette Vision game, or rarest released Cassette Vision game at least. In the couple of years that I've been actively getting Cassette Vision stuff, I've seen one copy of Elevator Panic for sale, and that's the one I'm playing. Historical sales information tells me that copies usually go for over 10,000 yen. So it's the pricey Cassette Vision game as well. Elevator Panic borrows a lot from the previous Cassette Vision game Monster Mansion. Taro, who is the hero in Mansion, is once more trying to rescue Hanako, and just like in stages from the previous game, he has to collect all of these dangling bits and then climb all the way to the top to get her. It even reuses the establishing shot of a building from Monster Mansion. Monster Mansion was clearly based on Donkey Kong, while Elevator Panic doesn't seem to have a single direct inspiration. Maybe a little bit of Donkey Kong Jr., a dash of Mario Brothers, but not really enough of either of those to make me go, aha, that's what they were doing. Elevator Panic has 3 different stages, but they're essentially the exact same. Stage 2 adds holes in the floor, and Stage 3 makes those holes move. On every stage, to advance, you have to first collect all of the checkpoints, the little flags that are dangling from the platforms, then make your way up to Hanako, who is on the top floor. There's no monster trapping her this time. You move left and right by using the lever, and all of the buttons on the Cassette Vision make you jump. To get between floors, you have to use the elevators, and you have absolutely no control over how they move. They go up to the top, then they go all the way to the bottom, and then they go back. They stop at a floor for only a few seconds, and will blink before they move. Because you don't have control over them, it's tough to route your movement. If you want to go up, but the elevator is going down, then you're going to have to wait. On top of that, the horizontally moving enemies can still hit you while you're in the elevator. You can't jump while inside it, and if you move out of the elevator, you move all the way out of the elevator, which complicates jumping over anything. After you've collected all the checkpoints, the right-hand elevator starts moving up to the 4th floor, which just slows everything down even more. The elevators are the worst part of Elevator Panic. There are 2 kinds of enemies that you have to deal with in the game. The ones that start at the top, bouncing around, are kami-kami, which is Japanese onomatopoeia for a mumbling sound. They bounce around on the top row, and then will fall straight down through the floor. At higher difficulties and speeds, it becomes dangerous to walk on the 3rd floor, because they can just suddenly stop and drop on your head. Also, if they drop at the earliest possible time, they tend to turn into a continuous torrent of them coming down. A new one spawns in, drops, and then a new one spawns in and drops, and then a new one spawns in and drops. It makes them rather irritating. The enemy that moves horizontally is called a sui-sui, which is the Japanese onomatopoeia for a smooth movement. It's not too hard to jump over them, and there can only be one on the screen at a time. One trick to the sui-sui is that if you get below them and bop them from underneath, they'll be stunned. Then if you're able to change floors and get them before they wake up, you'll get a significant bonus. But changing floors depends on the elevators being in exactly the right place. That doesn't mean that stunning them when you can't get to them is useless, though. Since only one sui-sui can be out at a time, if it's stunned in a place where it can't affect you, then there isn't a new one spawning in where it could. All of the stages are on a timer, though it's only used for bonus points. The color of the cross up next to Hanako will tell you how many bonus points you're getting. If you manage to clear 3 stages and get to Hanako every time, you get a cute little message, and then the game starts over at a slightly faster speed. There are 2 difficulty levels in Elevator Panic, but this is one of those cases where it only changes the speed and how many lives you start with. I didn't care for Elevator Panic, and it really comes down to one thing. Those elevators. It's not fun having to wait around for them. And if the sui-sui is closing in when you want to change floors, well then you might wind up having to wait for an entire another elevator cycle. It's a bit of game design that just slows everything down, and not in a now I can think about this kind of way. Maybe it's because Epoch wasn't borrowing from someone else's design here. Without a great game to copy, Elevator Panic feels more messy than other Cassette Vision games. It's not a great way for the system to go out.